Hello, my name is Ls3031 and my presentation will be on police violence on Black women. So I'm going to start off with the presentation contents. I'm going to be talking about the introduction, the literature review, and the methods I used. So this study aims to figure out the significant relation between the disparities of police violence, discrimination, and the effects towards African American women. The exploration of the effects African American women experience due to police violence are of importance to their health, which it severely impacts their health, such as mental illnesses, heart problems, and I will be also discussing about the disparities of limited media coverage for African American women compared to the amount of media coverage that male African Americans get. In the TED Talk of Kimberly Crenshaw, she listed a list of male African Americans who have died from police violence. She asked the audience to sit down when they didn't recognize the name, and most of them were standing with the first list that she gave, which were male. And with the second list, there was about 4 people standing when she would name female names of women that have died to police violence. So you could clearly see the difference between the first list of names compared to the second list, and the only difference is basically their gender. So the awareness levels of police violence towards Black women is extremely low. So for my literature review, I discussed about the topic of invisible women. So Black women in the United States are disproportionately impacted by police violence. Despite this, their experiences and deaths are often invisible in the media and public discussions. Several studies have studied this issue and found that Black women experiences with the police violence are often impacted by intersecting forms of oppression, and their stories are often told through the experiences of others, clearly because with most of them they have passed, so their stories are told by others, by their families, which leads to the removal of their own personal experiences and their perspectives. The deaths of Black women are often overlooked in the media coverage, but when they are mentioned in the media coverage, they are often portrayed in a negative way and stereotypical ways as well. Another study by Crenshaw, she says that Black women who experience police violence are more likely targeted based on their race and gender, but they also experience further discrimination based on their socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, and even disability status. So all these intersecting forms of oppression make it more difficult for Black women to receive the media coverage and public attention for their experiences. Other studies have found that Black women who experience police violence are at a higher risk of developing mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, and of course post-traumatic stress disorders. But by addressing this issue will require a method approach that includes addressing the root causes of police violence, such as racism and sexism, as along with the increasing access to mental health resources for those who experience police violence. Now continuing discussing their health, studies have found that Black women who experience police violence are at a increased risk of developing various health problems, including chronic pain, hypertension, and heart disease. So to address this issue, a comprehensive approach that includes addressing So for this issue, it would require to improve access to healthcare resources for those who are victims of police violence. So for my methods, I decided that both qualitative and quantitative methods would be best suited for my study. I will be using a database to collect every nationwide fatal shooting article that the fatal shooting is done by the police during the line of duty. There would be keywords such as Black women and the names of Black women that will be used to note how many articles cover their stories. So that would basically track the amount of articles that are covering their stories. We would want to keep track of that, and then we will do the same for articles of males, and compare the amount of articles between both genders. I will also like to do interviews. This would be discussing the topic on a deeper level with those suffering from discrimination and police violence, and I believe interviews are more they're more personal, and you get to fully understand and see that person, and see their pain, instead of just reading it from a survey. That doesn't really give you much detail or emotions. But with an interview, you could ask deeper questions, very personal, and make it a very comfortable setting for them to share their story. I will be able to notice their body language, their how they feel, their emotions, and just how much it really impacts them. But besides the interviews, I also want to do a survey, and the survey would be asked not only to African Americans, but to various races, and just try to compare their experiences and how their health is compared to those that do experience a high level of police violence.